And I can promise you right now, if you use your gift for manipulation, you will fail. Every time. And every time you use your gift for motivation, you will catapult your vision exponentially. You may not feel it the first time or the second time, but that is the kind of karma entrepreneurs live by. Does that make sense? Please take that with me. We're wired differently, and we use our persuasions constructively. Jackie, I'm out of the forum here, and I'm just rattling on, and I had this leadership thing I got in my head, and I'm spinning it out. I hope I'm making sense and resonating with some of you. Do you have any quick questions about some of the things I've just said? I appreciate your comment back there, and I didn't mean to derail you, but I really think the first time I met you, sir, you had it. You had a great spirit about you. Your eyes were very, very connecting to me, and you weren't afraid to say hello, and I really appreciate that. This young man over here, he connected with me when I walked in, and I want to really appreciate that. You, sir, I've seen you before. I'm scared to death of you. John, thanks for shaking my hand when I walked in. All of you have been very nice when I walked in. I want to tell you, this is a very fun group. Very fun group. You're special. You're wired differently. Any quick questions on that?
Love the confidence. My question outside of that would be, what makes you that person? I don't,
Okay. What's your name again, sir?
I'm Clayton.
Clayton, let's get one thing clear. I did not say I was the most successful man in the planet. I was one of the most successful salesmen at a period in my mind. You're exactly right. So the question again is what? I want to make sure that I don't have lightning strike me.
What makes you that successful salesperson?
Well, I think that the whole thing back to persuasion, the gift of persuasion. And I've always operated by this idea is the more difficult it is, the more I thrive. So, you take this very situation with the government, okay? I don't think anyone in this room is happy 100% with our government. But they continue to evoke legislation and rules on my industry. And this all goes back to perspective. So I can sit back and say, this is redonkulous. Why do they keep doing this stuff to me? Why do they keep making things more difficult? How are we all going to ever keep up with that? The ACA, the ADA, all these things in our... Does anybody feel overwhelmed as a business owner? Absolutely. So let's flip the perspective. Let's be the best students possible at this endeavor. The more difficult they make it on us, the more opportunity there is for the person who has the legs. I got the legs. No one's going to stand longer than me. My dad told me this a long time ago. He said, son, listen, you may think you're strong, you may think you're all these things, but guess what? There's always someone bigger, faster, stronger, and smarter. You believe that?
Yes.
Yes, sir, you do, and that is the truth. So what separates an entrepreneur like you from the rest of the world realizing that you're wired different? We have the legs. We have the heart. We have the passion. When we get up, no one's going to stop us. Sometimes we're depressed. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been in a ball wondering why it didn't work. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in that because we're wired differently. We go so hard at things that sometimes when they don't work, we can't understand our own flaws and our body reacts. But the difference is we uncoil. We get back up the next day and we figure it out. I want you to walk out of here today realizing how special you are. Okay? Because it's not going to work immediately all the time. But the difference is the fact that we continue to get up. So if you go back to your question with me, and I'm not trying to be pious, and I'm not trying to be arrogant, I'm just going to tell you, you're not going to beat me. You're just not going to beat me. You'll work with me. I'll work with you. I'm just not going to be beat. We can redirect. We can do things, but we're going to have to get the perspective right. Sometimes our perspective is wrong. I got a quick story about that, and I'm going to get a little God on you right here. Let's go back to the part where you're just feeling down and you're not around, you feel like you just can't make things work. And I was in one of those doldrums about, probably 8 years ago. And I was driving through Cleveland. Anybody ever been in Cleveland? That's enough sometimes just to make you depressed. And it was, and it was before I lived here in Florida, and 80%, what's your name? Chris. 80% of my life up north was clouds and rain, and it wasn't sunny. And so one of the reasons we moved here was because of this, and the business continued to grow. But I was driving down this road, and it was raining, and it was just a nasty day, and I said, God, I just need a sign. I don't know if anyone's ever even if you believe in something other than our God, just give me a sign. Give me an epiphany. I know I can turn this thing around. I know I'm thinking squarely. Just make the clouds part. Make the sunshine come out, and then I'll know I'm on the right course. Raise your hand if you've ever done anything a little bit like that. Have a deer run in front of my car. Have someone smile at me. Anything, God, just say hello to me. So I was in one of those epiphany moments, and I needed to see God show up. I needed a sign, a wonder, an amazement. And I went on, and then all of a sudden, we always change the rules. Well, maybe not right now. Maybe not down the road. But no, this is one I was firm on. And I was driving down the road, and instead of the clouds parting and the sun coming out, the clouds got worse. It got darker. And it got rainier. I couldn't see anything. And I'm like, God, really? But then I turned the corner as I came down the street. And I looked to my left and I looked to my right. And the rain was so thick I could barely see. But there it was, a billboard. And the only thing on that billboard was a big image of the sun. And so I don't know why that gets me. But we need perspective. Sometimes we look in the wrong places for the things that we want because that's all we see. Our perspective needs to be clear, that we can have perspective on other things. When we're looking, even in God in this example, for Him the way we want Him, it's not that way. It's the way He wants us. Sometimes we're so full of our own vision that we're not able to step back and be the true leader that we've been called to be and look at the perspective. You ask Steve Jobs, you ask any of these leaders, every now and then we're just not right. And perspective is one of the key components of being a strong, strong leader. Did I answer your question while I was preaching there, my friend? Okay. Jackie, you want to help me get back on track here a little bit?
Absolutely, because that is my job. So when you're talking about leadership, the difference between saying, follow me, and I'll go first.
Yeah. I think that's a great, and I'll give you a good lesson on that. My father was a great football coach, and he was an entrepreneur in his own right. Entrepreneurs are, someone in here said, are risk takers. I think all business owners are risk takers. I think entrepreneurs are someone that's willing to go maybe just a different notch in a different direction that's maybe not as proven. I'm not going to fight Dave on that one or Al. But if you listen to the radio show, it was a good little spar. Entrepreneurs are just a little more special. And I'm just going to say it out loud. You can buy a franchise with all of the things proven in it and mitigate some of your risk, and I think that's a good path for a lot of people. An entrepreneur is the guy or the woman or the person who says, I like that franchise concept, but I have another idea. Okay? It's my idea. I got it somewhere. I really believe in it. And let's go take it. Okay? So without an argument there. What was the actual question?
The actual question was simply to speak to the difference between a leader saying, follow me, and a leader saying, I'll go first.
He was a donut maker. Thank you, Jackie. He was a donut maker and a football coach. And so he made donuts. And he told me, he says, son, do one thing great. Be a good donut maker. So I became a very good donut maker. I became a good football player. I did one thing great. But he told me, he said, before you can be a great donut maker, you got to learn how to scrape floors. So I got on the floor, and I had a scraper, and I would scrape that floor day in and day out. I would wash the dishes. I would do whatever my dad said because I couldn't take people where I wasn't willing to go. I strongly felt that. And I think that's another characteristic of an entrepreneur. Some business people feel entitled to a title. Entrepreneurs dig in because they can't own a solution until they create the solution in many, many regards. Now, I am not the be-all, end-all or the finite entrepreneurial judge. I'm just giving you my opinion. So the question of the separation is, I find it much easier to lead in areas that I've been able to almost conquer myself. Now, a great leader is the first one to tell you that they can't do everything. But when you're an entrepreneur and you're on that initial level of the IPO or the breakout of your idea, you better get your tail in there and you better get dirty. You better get dirty.
So I'm going to bring you back to one of the things that you told me that you had some experience in that you thought would be useful for people to hear, and that's the concept of adversity.
Adversity. Yeah, I think adversity, and I'd like to talk about adversity because iron sharpens iron. And I think everybody's getting me in here, and I really appreciate that. You are not a complete person until you raise a daughter. Did I just say that? I have no idea why I said that. Oh, adversity. That's what it was. Adversity. You have that daughter. Well, I have 3 daughters. You have 3 also, sir? How did you keep all that hair? Did you really? I want your doctor. I want your doctor. Adversity. You are not going to be who you're intended to be until you take on some adversity. Leadership doesn't come with a free pass. Leadership doesn't come with attaboys. Leadership doesn't come with yes people. Leadership doesn't come without failure. Leadership doesn't come without epic, epic proportions of pain. I'm telling you this because I live it every day. So without adversity, you can't be respected. I can't even stand up here and pretend to be who I am without adversity.
That's probably going to lead right into our next question, which is about endurance.
Well, endurance is the close. I think you skipped love. Was that on purpose?
What's love got to do with it,
What's
Todd?
love got? Well, since you're in charge, Jackie, what do you want me to talk about first?
Answer the question.
Endurance.
What's love got to do with it, Todd?
Well, I think love is the overriding theme to life.